Path of forgiveness. I's 35F, want to forgive him 30M. I, 35 years old, female, have been with my fiancé 30 years old, male, for over 4 years. I will refer to my fiancé as P. We were friends before we became romantically involved. Outwardly, we appear to be quite different. He is a fan of heavy metal music, predominantly dresses in black, is covered in tattoos, and has a serious demeanor, while I am vibrant and cheerful, not a fan of metal. We met through mutual friends because we both enjoy gaming, and he sometimes confided in me about his dating experiences, seeking advice. It was a light-hearted friendship. During this period, I was in a relationship with my ex, who was physically, emotionally, and financially abusive. I felt trapped and was too frightened to leave. Eventually, I confided in P about my circumstances. He remained calm and advised me to leave my ex, offering me a place to stay at his house, located a couple of hours' drive away. As my ex was unaware of P's address, I would be safe there. Initially, I dismissed his offer, believing it was a polite gesture given the significant turmoil I was experiencing. At one point, I became so despondent that I attempted suicide as a way to escape my life. A week following that incident, I had an epiphany and messaged P to ask if his offer still stood. He responded affirmatively and told me I was welcome to come immediately. I packed my belongings, telling my ex I was staying at my mother's for the weekend, and fled to P. It was heart-wrenching to leave behind my beloved pets, but taking them would have raised my ex's suspicions. Upon arriving at P's residence, I immediately broke down, and from that point on, he became my pillar of support. He provided me with safety and security. The following month was extremely challenging. The police were involved because my ex was driving around my mother's house armed, attempting to punish me for my escape. The police were largely unhelpful and advised me to stay away from my previous home. In the following months, P and I naturally grew closer. I would cook and clean for him while searching for a new job as a way to express my gratitude, and over time, we discovered that we shared extremely similar life values. I did not want children, desired marriage, and craved stability, and P felt the same. P was, and remains, an exceptionally shy individual without supportive family ties, aside from a distant mother, which made it difficult for him to express his emotions. Still, he showed his feelings through physical affection, holding me when I cried and stroking my hair, making me feel secure. I realized I was falling in love with him. Initially, I hesitated. He was 26 when I stayed with him, because I thought he was too young to settle down, but spending time with someone who made me feel happy and at ease was compelling, and he felt the same. He told me that the moment I arrived at his doorstep with my possessions, he knew he loved me and wanted to protect me. We officially became a couple and rented a larger place together. I found a good job, and my mental turmoil gradually subsided thanks to the stable and joyful environment we created. After 3 years of being together, we got engaged and adopted a puppy. P is my best friend. When he looks at me, I feel cherished. My family often expresses how lovely it is to see me with someone who adores me. Last year, P went through a difficult period. He was stuck in a dead-end office job and was feeling depressed. He wanted more for us but felt inadequate, leading to a mental breakdown in which he felt suicidal. I believe his struggles with communication significantly contributed to this, as he found it challenging to articulate his thoughts. After several discussions, we decided he could use our savings to obtain a truck driving license, which is expensive in the United Kingdom. He had always aspired to drive trucks, as the jobs pay well, making it a worthwhile investment, with the expectation that our savings would eventually recover. I supported him through this significant career change, transitioning from office work to truck driving, despite the stigma associated with it. His mother openly ridiculed him, looking down on him for making this career shift. Though it bothered him somewhat, he knew he would earn more money as a truck driver and would be doing a job he found interesting. I felt immensely proud of P for overcoming his difficulties, and I was his biggest supporter. Despite the challenges of last year, he successfully obtained his license and started a new job. Things were looking up again. We were a solid couple in love, having navigated minor issues successfully. This changed when I discovered messages on his computer shortly after Christmas. P has his own office in our home, and I decided to clean and reorganize it while he was at work. While at his desk, I intended to send a message to our mutual friend on Discord. Unfortunately, I misclicked and selected someone else's name from his direct messages list. I didn't recognize the person, and they were engaging in very sexual conversations with P. The messages dated back to his mental breakdown, but they contained explicit and suggestive content. P's responses were passive and did not shut the conversation down, consisting of very risque dialogue. Our intimate life during this time had been quite conventional, which bothered me, but P had always refused to discuss his kinks with me, so I let it go. I noticed this person had been reaching out to P monthly, but he had chosen to ignore them, around the time he began to stabilize mentally. Reading those messages was devastating, and I couldn't bring myself to read every single one. What I did understand was that this individual was not someone he knew in real life. Rather, they were merely a person he had met through an MMORPG that P no longer plays. There were no exchanged pictures, video calls, or personal interactions, just flirtatious exchanges. When P returned home, I told him I had seen the messages and was considering leaving him. He readily admitted that he had made a grave mistake. He asked if I had noticed when the messages were sent, and I acknowledged that they were all during his breakdown, but I insisted that this was not an excuse. He explained that the person meant nothing to him, that he merely sought a release and likened it to watching pornography, nothing more. I explained that I was deeply hurt. While pornography does not bother me, involving another person crossed a boundary. I expressed my frustration over the fact that he engaged in such conversation while he had not approached me about his kinks. He broke down, revealing that he had acted out of desperation during his breakdown and had a significant sexual secret. He feared that if he disclosed his secret to me, I would leave him, and he had been terrified of me discovering the truth since his mistake, which had compounded his anxiety. When I asked him what his kink was, he struggled to articulate it, consumed by shame and believing that revealing it would end our relationship. At that moment, I was apprehensive about the nature of his kink, fearing the worst. Ultimately, he admitted to having cheated due to a deep-seated kink, exacerbated by his breakdown, which led him to make a regrettable decision in a moment of weakness. He conceded that his kink was the driving factor behind his actions. I expressed my uncertainty about whether I would choose to stay or leave, but I made it clear that I would definitely depart if he didn't open up to me. I granted him a day to reflect on this. The day after, once he finished work, he sent me a lengthy text message instead of speaking to me in person, indicating his fear. He disclosed his kink, which involved wanting me to dominate him in the bedroom. I felt immense frustration he put our relationship at risk over this. I would have been completely on board with it, as I am an open-minded person and would have felt entirely comfortable exploring that dynamic. However, he believed that expressing a desire to be submissive in the bedroom could be perceived as overly feminine, which led him to think I would judge him harshly and ultimately leave him. Upon reflection, the messages I had seen between him and that other individual began to make sense. They aligned with what he was now disclosing. Throughout this ordeal, he conveyed his desire to marry me and explained that he never wanted to pressure me into doing anything in the bedroom that would make me uncomfortable. During his breakdown, he let his guard down. He assured me that he only wanted me, would never physically cheat on me, that it was a one-time mistake, and that he would do anything to repair the damage. He promised he would never let this happen again and was willing to grant me full-time access to his computer and phone to help regain my trust. I requested to see his phone as well, and thankfully, there was nothing incriminating there. I haven't exploited that access since obtaining his passwords, but knowing I could delve deeper if necessary is reassuring. He offered to show me his entire search history and go through all his messages with him to prove it was just a mistake from a year ago. It's been 2 months since that revelation. We have explored his kink in the bedroom, which I now find enjoyable, and our sex life has significantly improved. He has been incredibly supportive while I recovered from surgery over a week ago, taking time off work to care for me. Our relationship feels similar to how it was before I discovered the messages, except our sexual life is now more fulfilling. However, I am still on the journey to forgiveness. I do not yet forgive him. I find myself thinking about the incident daily. At times, I feel insecure, unattractive, angry, bitter, and even grateful for discovering this because I see that P is happier now that he has revealed his secret. I occasionally feel sympathy for him, knowing he was terrified to tell me and worried I would leave, but I quickly become upset that I feel that way since he should have communicated better. I have always been a good listener, and he admitted that, but his shame led to significant complications. It was unavoidable that I would uncover the truth. I weighed the positives against the negatives. The only negative aspect of P was his lapse in judgment during that challenging period. I just wish the healing process were faster. I am open with P about my feelings. He listens and comprehends my perspective. Since everything came to light, we have communicated more openly and, ironically, have grown closer than ever. I still love him. I still wish to marry him, but I merely hope this unpleasant feeling will fade. Story 2. 23M struggling with mental health and relationship tension. How can I improve communication and emotional support with my girlfriend? 22F. I, 23 years old, male, Asian, and my girlfriend, 22 years old, female, European, have a generally strong relationship, but my deteriorating mental health due to immigration challenges, university stress, and financial issues has put a strain on things. She encourages me to be open, but at times, she reacts with frustration or invalidation when I share my feelings. She also harbors resentment about how my struggles affect her, which often makes me feel like a burden. Despite my attempts, such as planning her Valentine's gift weeks ahead while she picked mine on the same day, I feel unappreciated, misunderstood, and lacking in sympathy. She does apologize when she says hurtful or extreme things, and I recognize that I am not perfect either. However, I cannot remember ever lashing out at her the way she has at me. I love her, but I am beginning to question whether I can trust her with my emotions. If she desires honesty but reacts in this manner when I am struggling, what does that imply for our future? I am an international student from Asia, while my girlfriend hails from Europe. I understand that both continents are vast and diverse, but what truly matters is that we come from different cultures. Fortunately, our cultural differences have not posed a significant issue. We embrace them and communicate effectively when challenges arise. This is one of the qualities I admire in her. She is straightforward and does not expect me to read her mind. Although our time together has been short, our relationship has been significant. We have acknowledged each other's flaws, moved beyond the honeymoon phase, and worked to maintain our bond. However, things have altered as my mental health has worsened due to several reasons. As an international student with intentions to immigrate, I have encountered difficulties related to employment, university challenges, and the overall experience of being an immigrant. The increasing hostility toward immigrants in my current country only compounds these struggles, leaving me feeling unwanted. Financial woes, loneliness, and anxiety have taken a toll on me, yet I have strived to be a supportive partner, showing affection, being present, and ensuring that she does not feel burdened. I understand that she also has her own life and challenges, and I acknowledge that. I consistently communicate that my mental health issues are not her responsibility. I continue to invest in our relationship, listening to her, celebrating special moments, and supporting her. However, we are both experiencing difficulties at this moment. The issues began when my mental health declined. She often reassures me that I can be vulnerable with her, but I have observed a pattern. When I visibly struggle, she becomes aware, her mood diminishes, and she insists that I tell her what is wrong. I ask if she is emotionally prepared for the conversation, and she shows frustration if I hesitate. When I finally open up, her responses vary. Sometimes she is supportive, but other times she trivializes my struggles or reacts with irritation. For instance, when I voiced the hardships of being an immigrant, I expressed something along the lines of, "You do not understand," not in the most mature manner, but because I was feeling exceedingly sad and overwhelmed. Unfortunately, this made her defensive, prompting her to ask, "Is there anything I understand? And can I even feel and know what I feel and know?" Such responses made me feel even more invalidated, as if my struggles were neither real nor justified. I want to clarify that this post does not adequately reflect how exceptional she truly is. She is tremendously helpful, caring, kind, and intelligent. Honestly, I still love her. Otherwise, I would not be feeling this way and seeking to resolve our issues. She has been a wonderful partner in many respects, and I do not wish to overlook that. I acknowledge that we are both facing trying circumstances, and I believe we can work through this. She also feels that I am constantly putting words in her mouth. I do not believe that I do. I simply explain how her tone affects my emotions. If I sense that she sounds angry or dismissive, I communicate that. She believes I choose inappropriate times to discuss these issues, but I always check if she is emotionally ready and if it is the best moment to talk before bringing up serious matters. I felt quite remorseful when I asked her if she could talk, and she agreed. However, during our discussion, she mentioned feeling frustrated that I did not intuitively recognize that it was not a good time to talk about serious matters before her exams. I expressed my apologies for that, but I genuinely did not know whether it was the right moment to engage in conversation or not, as I did not want her to approach an exam with unresolved feelings on her mind. She claims that I always try to be correct when I tell her she does not understand. While I know I need to express myself more clearly, it is frustrating when she asserts that she understands experiences she has never encountered. I do not feel as though I am trying to be right. Rather, I am simply seeking to be understood when relaying the challenges I face. She also seems to resent the fact that my struggles impact her, which I can understand. However, I do not feel that I use my mental health as an excuse. I take accountability for my actions and their effects on her. I also strive to demonstrate my love in various ways. For instance, I organized her Valentine's gift weeks in advance, ensuring it was thoughtful and significant, despite feeling overwhelmed with school, finances, and immigration issues. Meanwhile, she purchased my gift on the same day while we were already together. I do not expect grand gestures, but it was disheartening when my effort felt unreciprocated. Experiences like these lead me to feel as though she views me more as a burden than as a partner. She has told me that I struggle with reading social cues and should seek therapy to address it. I will work on that, but it is painful to know that she felt uneasy when a friend suggested she was mothering me. I do not want her to feel that way, but it is upsetting to hear. I feel that I have been fair and supportive, yet she often reacts in ways that make me feel unheard. When I express this sentiment, her response tends to be extreme statements such as, "Then I will not do anything because you do not believe me." I appreciate her efforts, but I do not feel fully understood or as though my emotions are being validated. That being said, I also recognize that I am not flawless. There are days when I am not at my best, and I lack the emotional capacity to support her as much as I would prefer. I acknowledge that this is something I need to address. However, I cannot recall a time when I genuinely lashed out at her in the same manner she has reacted to me. Whenever she says something extreme or hurtful, she reflects on it and apologizes, which I value. Yet the pattern remains painful, and I question why it continues. I'm struggling, and regardless of what others may say, it does not change the fact that I feel stuck and unhappy. It hurts even more when my girlfriend, the person I care for deeply, says things that lead me to doubt my own reality. Recently, she accused me of playing the victim when I shared my challenges since moving here, which was incredibly painful and felt like a violation of the trust I had placed in her. Following our recent argument, we both agreed to take some space. We scheduled a time to discuss our concerns after her exams, which I believe is a positive step. I want to maintain faith in our relationship, but I feel hurt and uncertain. If this is how I am treated during my difficult times, what is the point? I still love her, but I am unsure if I can trust her in the same way again. If she wants a partner who suppresses emotions and never struggles, then she should not have conveyed that she desires honesty and vulnerability from me. I feel lost. Thank you for reading my lengthy post, and I appreciate anyone who takes the time to respond. Story 3. Changing a big fat target on my back. My boss being escorted out by security. This occurred a few years ago, but the tale seems to fit perfectly for this forum. I was one of 2 commercial writer-producers employed in the production department of a local television station. Our team was tasked with producing both the newscasts and advertisements for clients who bought airtime on our channel. The department was highly stressful. I had to juggle numerous deadlines and create content for approximately a dozen advertising campaigns each month. Nevertheless, I consistently met my deadlines, and our sales department frequently praised my work, directing more significant clients my way. Regrettably, the managers in my department changed with alarming regularity. During the 9 years I spent there, I encountered 6 different supervisors. Typically, these managers were merely passing through, aiming to secure higher management positions in larger television markets. As a result, their hands-on experience in television production was often limited, leading them to refrain from interfering in our work as long as clients were satisfied and deadlines were met. Because the managers were so disengaged, I approached our general sales manager with an idea to save time and expenses in the department, and he suggested I apply for the production manager role the next time it became available. So I did, but I was not selected for the position. I was informed that my contributions as a producer were too valuable for maintaining good client relationships. I thought it was no big deal. I was content in my role. Unfortunately, the person they selected for the job turned out to be a colossal jerk. I will refer to him as Bob. His first inquiry was about who in the department had applied for the position he now occupied. I have no idea which fool in upper management thought it wise to disclose that information to him, but someone did. It quickly became clear that he hoped to find any justification he could to dismiss me, because that was just the insecure kind of person he was. He started by criticizing the time I required to complete commercial productions, followed by accusations of undercharging clients in my billing. He insisted that I wear a suit and tie, fully aware that I detested that attire. As the situation worsened, I began meticulously documenting every interaction with him, taking notes on our conversations, and contradicting his claims with the facts. Meanwhile, he managed to alienate many in our department, leading to a significant decline in morale. Bob was petty and vain, often boasting about his lavish vacation plans. He was planning a trip to Aruba and plastered the office with travel posters, even putting up a ridiculous sign on his office door that proclaimed, "My island adventure begins in 2 weeks." This constant display served as a reminder that he was the only one in our department earning enough to afford such a vacation. Eventually, an incident occurred where I missed a deadline through no fault of my own. The client wanted to change the creatives at the last moment, forcing us to postpone the film's shoot. Somehow, Bob seemed to think I should have been able to read the client's mind and predict their needs before they were expressed. He summoned me to his office and began verbally attacking and threatening me. I had reached my limit. I am the type of person who can endure a great deal of pressure with patience and poise, but once I am pushed to my breaking point, I erupt. I started shouting back, "You're a liar, and if you believe I don't know how to handle this client, then fine. Let me see you do it because I'm done here." And I left the job. Fueled by adrenaline from the confrontation, I walked all the way home a distance exceeding 6 miles. As I neared my house, my cell phone rang. It was Bob. Apparently, it had just struck him that he would need to produce the advertisement himself, as our other producer was on vacation that week. He hesitated and ultimately revealed something quite telling. "If we lose this client, we'll both be fired, and I can't afford to lose another job." "Really? So you've been let go from all your other jobs? What a shock." I told him off, stating I wasn't going to put up with his nonsense any longer. Meanwhile, I was literally shaking, acutely aware that I had walked off the job with no other employment lined up and a family to support. Fortunately, the next call I received was from the general sales manager, the same person who had advised me to apply for Bob's position, setting this entire chaotic situation in motion. By that time, my outburst seemed to have reached him. He asked about what transpired, and I filled him in, apologizing for my abrupt departure while making it clear that I would not work under Bob. He replied, "Yes, leaving wasn't a wise choice. Do me a favor and come back. Send me the details of what happened, and I'll see what I can do." Thanks to my extensive documentation of all my dealings with Bob, I quickly provided him with the full account of Bob's foolishness. I returned, hoping to avoid Bob. Luckily, his door was shut, so I kept my head down in my cubicle. About half an hour before quitting time, I noticed our general manager and a security guard exiting the elevator together. I stood up to see where they were headed and was thrilled to find it was directly toward Bob's office. What happened next exceeded my expectations for revenge. Bob stepped out of his office carrying a box filled with his belongings complete with the rolled-up Aruba travel poster and was escorted by the security guard to the elevator. Standing in my cubicle, he turned to face me, his face bright red with embarrassment. As our eyes met, I couldn't help but smile from ear to ear. The fool was finished. In summary, while working as a producer at a television station, the manager who obtained the position I applied for made it his personal mission to have me dismissed, only to ultimately be fired himself.